Yo, what's good, YouTube, man? It's Gary with another Fan TV back at another video. Like the content is really go smash that like button, like the content of this channel. Go and subscribe, man. Look, yeah, sorry I haven't been talking to y'all this week, man. You know, it's kind of crazy. I was supposed to travel, trip got canceled, whole kind of craziness going on with Thanksgiving in the mix and everything like that. So, but we're gonna talk about this Ravens and Eagles game, man, and get right into it. All right, so we're gonna start with the injury report for the Ravens. So good and bad news on here, right? Good news is guys like Michael Pierce, like they're going to return. Roquan Smith is going to be back, and we'll see if TJ Tampa plays. He hasn't played much this season anyway, so I'm not going to say like that's good news, but it's good to see him, get back. Because he's had kind of a rookie season that's been kind of torn with injuries, right? Also, a guy like Travis Jones. Travis Jones has been on the injury report, I would say, the last month consistently with the ankle problem, but he was a full participant in practice yesterday, so he's looking good for the game, right? Now, on the bad news side of it, we know about Charlie Kohler breaking his arm in this past game versus the Chargers, but also looks like Kyle Van Noy is not going to play as well, all right? Kyle Van Noy did not practice this entire week, and he is listed as doubtful, okay? So we're just going to say listed as doubtful, excuse me. No practice time, you're not playing, right? So that's a major blow to the Ravens pass rush, right? The Ravens are looking good on the interior. Michael Pierce, Matabike, Travis Jones, even Broderick Washington, right? But on the outside, on the edge, now it's a little flimsy, right? You got Dafiowe and then you got question marks, honestly, all right? So we'll see what happens with that going on, right? But we'll talk about that, okay? So the Eagles, man. All right, Eagles last 3 games, 3-0. The Eagles haven't lost a game in like 2 months, right? So the Eagles last lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It dropped them to 2-2. They're now 9-2 on the season, so 7 straight wins for the Eagles. Like I said, I think that game was played on like the end of September, right? So the Eagles haven't lost in quite a while, okay? But their last 3 games, 34-6 versus the Cowboys, 26-18 versus the Commanders, 37-20 versus the Rams, right? And we watched that Rams game on Sunday Night Football. Obviously, Saquon went crazy. 300 yards from scrimmage, 255 yards on the ground. Absolutely amazing game. Multiple 60-plus yard touchdown runs. He was pretty incredible, right? So, Saquon Barkley doing what Saquon Barkley does, right? Rip off big, huge chunk plays, okay? Now, let's talk about the Eagles defense first, though. So the Eagles defense has been a really good unit, right? Has been a unit that I would say that it's kind of surprised most people, right? Because people thought that, well, what are they going to do about their corner situation, right? That was a question mark. Well, what are they going to do about their linebacker situation? That was a question mark, right? People had a pretty good idea of what the Eagles were up front in terms of their pass rush, right? But it's really been the second and third level that has really shined for the Eagles. Don't get me wrong; they have good players on the front. Like Jalen Carter, who's coming into his own, right? He was good last year as a rookie. He's even better now, right? So they lost a key player in Brandon Graham, but but the Eagles' defensive line is still good. But those guys on the second level and third level was really kind of elevated his defense, right? Zach Bond, who was kind of like a castaway, he's found a home now. The Kobe Dean didn't play much. People weren't sure about what he was going to do. Now he's a key piece of the defense, right? So now you got their corners, Quinyon Mitchell. I'm not sure if Slade was playing, but Slade was playing good before this. But I'm not sure he's going to play this game. I know he left the last game, maybe with a concussion or something like that. So, but they got good players on the back end, right? Safety plays are playing good. Gardner Johnson, um, Blankenship, right? Cooper DeJean. So they're playing really good on defense, right? So when you look at their defense, right, we're talking about 18 points a game for sixth. They allow the least yards in the NFL, 274 yards a game. The Ravens average the most yards per game in the NFL. The Ravens are the only team in the NFL above 400 yards a game on offense, right? And by a lot. The Ravens are at like 426, I believe. The next closest team is like 325, right? So it's a big gap for the Ravens, right? So this is going to be a strength-on-strength kind of game right here, all right? Third down percentage, only 32%, right? They have they average about 3 sacks a game, right? So it's interesting, right? What this Eagles defense can do, right? So they're a good unit. It's going to be a good test for the Ravens, but generally speaking, when the Ravens play good teams, I feel good about how they're going to perform, right? We say this all the time. At least I've said it all the time that when the Ravens play against worser competition, that's when I get worried about them not showing up, not being prepared, or taking the game lightly. But when a 9-2 Eagles team is going to come into Baltimore, I feel good. I feel pretty good about how the Ravens are going to perform because I know that they're going to be ready for that game. Right. All right. Now, offensively, right, this Eagles team, they're third in yards per game, right? So 389 yards a game. Um, this is the difference for this Eagles team, though, right here. 37 attempts on the game on the ground in the game, 193 yards per game on the ground, both the first in the NFL. So you got to think about it. Big winning streak, so they're running the ball because of that. Also, they're running the ball because Saquon Barkley is having one of the best seasons for a running back in a long time, right? Saquon Barkley right now is on pace to break the all-time scrimmage record, right, for a season, right? I think he's on pace to average 2,500 yards, not average, but get 2,500 yards plus this season from scrimmage, right? So when you mix a good run game with a good offensive line and a great running back, you get these kind of numbers, right? We see something like that similar with the Ravens, but to a different level with Saquon, right? All right. Passing game, they're 26 in attempts and they're 25th in yards per game, right? Jalen Hurts doesn't need to do much in the passing game because one, during this winning streak, they've been up, they've been able to control the game, control the clock, so they haven't had a need to do that kind of thing in the passing game, right? So that's been a key part of the Eagles' success. Okay, so when we see that this team is one of the better teams in the league at controlling the ball, controlling the clock, and just playing the game on their own terms, that's what the Ravens are going to have to deal with, right? The Ravens come into this game boasting the league's best run defense, but they haven't really. To me, the Ravens have a good run defense, right? But it's more so the fact that the Ravens' pass defense hasn't been good. So teams is just saying, well, why run the ball up against, your Matabikes, Roquan even coming down, or playing against, Travis Jones when we could throw the ball, right, get these explosive plays. Okay, that's been the case, right? But still, Ravens have a good run defense, and I think that'll be a good test, right? Because they're going to need to see it in this game how that run defense really is, right? We're going to need to see it, okay? So that's one of the big things for this game, right? So how do the Ravens stack up to this Eagles team overall? Um, so for the keys to the game, right? When I look at the keys to the game for this, for the Ravens offense, right? You gotta know about who you're playing against. So this is Vic Fangio, right? You're going to see a lot of too high coverages. It's kind of similar to what they saw last week versus the Chargers, but a little different, right? So you're going to see a lot of too high coverages. They're going to try to keep everything in front of you, and they don't really blitz. They have one of the lowest blitz rates in the NFL, so that's not going to be it, right? They're going to test Lamar Jackson and this offense's patience of will you be able to take these yards down the field as they come, right? Now, listen, if you even just watch the Rams game, I know the Eagles have a good run defense on paper and stats, EPA, all of that says that, right? You can run on this team, right? Teams haven't been able to really get into that mode because they've been losing, right? So if the Ravens can be able to do what I said for this Eagles team, which is control the clock, things like that, run the ball, I believe the Ravens can have success in that capacity. Now, will it happen like that? We shall see, right? But to me, this Ravens game to me is going to be about can you Ravens run this zone scheme, outside zone, to the left or to the right, primarily to the left, right? That's where the Ravens had the most success running that. And then can they play action off of that, right? I don't want to see the Ravens get too pass happy, right? The Eagles have a really good pass defense, okay? And the way they're going to play it is if you try to run up and pass on them all day, it's not to me that's not the best way to go about attacking this Eagles defense, right? In my opinion. All right. So Ravens need to have a balanced attack, which they've had before. And I think it's going to be like a game like last week, right? When they played the Chargers. Okay, so Ravens had a good run game, get off the ground. Lamar Jackson didn't need to be Superman, make the plays when they were there. I think it's going to be that kind of game too. Also, if the Eagles are going to try to keep everything in front of you, right, I would like to see Lamar run a little bit more. Now, I know Lamar hasn't been running as much because, he's popped up on the injury report a couple of times with the knee injury / rest and things like that. But also, I think he's just not running as much because he's waiting for the playoffs, right? But this may be a kind of game where you might have to take some of those yards that's in front of you just to keep it in. So now it's not 2nd and 10, it's 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, right? And protect yourself, get down. He does a great job of that anyway, right? So those are some kind of things that I'm looking for in this game. All right. Now for the defensive side of the ball, right? this Eagles team, Saquon is the engine that makes them go, right? So I'm not saying eliminate Saquon Barkley from the game because, like I said, he's the engine of the offense, so it's going to be pretty hard to eliminate from the game, right? But the key to this game to me for the Ravens is put the game in Jalen Hurts' hands and see if he can beat you with, they have talented receivers. Devontae Smith might play. He's coming back from a hamstring injury. But A.J. Brown is still out there, Dallas Goedert, guys like that. Try to make Jalen Hurts beat you in the passing game. To me, that's the best way. That's the best path forward for this Ravens team, right? Jalen Hurts is a very, very talented quarterback. Not taking anything away from him, right? I'm still not sold on the biggest fact of if we need to throw the ball completely, I can put the game on Jalen Hurts' shoulders, right? I'm still not completely sold on that, right? I think he's a good player. He's worth the money that he's being paid. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the league, right? So don't hear me saying this like he's not good. He's a good quarterback, right? But when the Eagles' offense is at their best is when they can limit those opportunities. We saw they're the last in the league in passing attempts, yards, all that kind of stuff in the bottom half of the league because their run game has been so good and so dominant. They haven't really need to pull that out, right? So, not saying they can't, but I would like if the Ravens are going to go into this game, that's what I want to see. Like, hey, Jalen Hurts, you do it. Let me see you be the catalyst for this Eagles offense, right? So to me, that's the best strategy, right? You know what I mean? This Eagles team is good. They run the ball well. They throw the ball well. So when you want to find a weakness, it's not like there's going to be a perfect answer, right? So if there was one answer that I think that it could be, that would be it, right? Jalen Hurts, what can you do this game in terms of putting the team on your back and carrying them to the victory, right? Because if the Ravens get into this game, and now I don't think Saquon would ever rush for 250 yards in the Ravens, nothing like that. But if they get into this game and it's just dominated by Saquon Barkley, that's disappointing, right? Because that's the main guy you have to focus on. That's the guy that makes the offense go. So every time you play one of these top teams, you want to take away the thing that they do best and see if they're good enough to beat you with the things that's second, third, fourth on that list. So that's where I'm at with that one right there. All right. So now as far as X Factors, for me, I only got one guy's name listed down there, but it could go for the entire unit. But Odafe, right? He's now put together, I would say, 3 consecutive good games in a row. Right now, this game to me, I'm putting him down here, especially because Kyle Van Noy, like he's going to be out. Right. So now you're the lead dog in this outside linebacker room. Right. The Ravens are going to need to get pressure on Jalen Hurts. And when you get to the quarterback, actually bring him down, not just touch him, not just run past him, not get your hands on him, and then he breaks free. Not just that, right? Actually get him to the ground. All right. They're going to have Tavius Robinson. We might see Ojabo again. He's been a healthy scratch for the last couple of weeks. Disa Isaac, guys like that. But Odafe, you are the main guy, right? So to me, that's who's my X factor for this game. Because Odafe have another good game, especially a game where Kyle Van Noy is not going to be playing, right? That's going to be a very, very big factor for the Ravens if they can win this football game, right? So those are my thoughts of the game. That's the game preview, right? This game is going to be at 4:25, right? So you would think this is kind of a game that would be on prime time, that might be flexed, but they decided to keep it at 4:25. Be one of the main games in that afternoon slot, that late afternoon slot, I should say. And I'm looking forward to it, right? So when the Ravens play good competition, ends up always being a good game or a Ravens victory, right? So I don't really expect anything else to be different, right? The Eagles team is good, but the Ravens are going to be the best team that they faced so far this year, right? So that's how I look at it. But that's my thoughts on the game. Obviously, I'll give me your thoughts on the game. I'll reply to all comments, man. It's Gabriel, Fans TV.